Good day, everyone. Alrighty, modeling the new colors and logo on Ocean Freight TV, worldwide reveal. Only today here on Ocean Freight TV with Steve Ferreira. Hi, again, I'm Steve Ferreira, your host, CEO of Ocean Audit, and the founder of Ocean Freight TV, coming to you every Friday live here on LinkedIn and talk about the latest, most interesting themes, insights within the container shipping industry and global logistics. And I put together, I think, a terrific show for you today, kind of coming from the heart and especially aimed towards, the men and women that work with shippers and beneficial cargo owners all over the world, are obviously the great sales and staff and support people that you as importers or exporters interface with, right? They're your pivot points, your point of contacts, and they make the machine, run together with your staff in logistics and procurement and finance as an importer. So where would we be without salespeople, right, in the ocean arena? So, and my cover slide is so interesting today. When I talk about ocean sales, I love the play on words. I think about container ship, a hardened piece of steel, being this sleek, beautiful ship running through the night, run silent, run deep, right? Invoking those type of memories. I also think about the salesperson and the importer or exporter on a kind of a Gilligan's Island, right? Where you never really can be rescued because once you're ingrained in logistics and supply chain, you tend to stay there. Now, of course, over the last 2 years, 3 years, we've seen that there's been a 20%, 25% turnover in terms of folks in logistics coming into new roles or leaving the role and moving on. So we've seen quite a shakeup, and I think it's even more important to have a show like this today. Chris Jolly's out there in the domestic freight world. I love Chris. Shout out to Chris. We'll talk a little bit more in the show about other luminaries like Sarah Barnes Humphreys and Blythe Brumlevy, two people I adore. And in ocean, right? These experts are great generalist in logistics. Chris, an expert in obviously domestic and motor carrier, truck brokerage. Ocean sales is a unique breed, and I think that when you look at us dinosaurs, and I include Steve Ferreira in that genre. It wasn't 40 years. I haven't stayed in the game for 40 years because of luck. It's because of love and perseverance and the outcomes and the rewards that the industry can bring, my family and your family, and equally and more importantly, your own internal personal growth. And it's with that background and backdrop that I want to talk about the run of the show today. I've laid it out in such a way that I think it touches on a way for both sales and development people on the carrier side, the ocean carrier side, and the OCC side to see and present and maybe have a different takeaway. And I think it also, in a type of way, gives beneficial cargo owners a unique insight, right, in terms of what the mentality is out there right now and what it can be. Because I truly think this is a crossroads period for our industry where we have to reshape and reframe, especially with artificial intelligence. And don't get me started on that. I'm seeing so many pitches that, from, really well-intended people like virtual assistants that want my business in the Philippines or India, all of a sudden going from, 2 lines to, 8 paragraphs of perfectly suited English. And, I guess in some of these lines of work, that's where we're going to start to see, some demarcation of, where AI takes over and the human intelligence or the human factor transitions, but not so much in ocean sales and in the vernacular that we're talking about today. And nowhere more common is that, I think, in the whole issue of how sales and marketing, right, are played into one here. I think the ocean industry is the only industry that thinks marketing is sales. And I think in looking at this slide, I want to take you through this. Obviously, when people like my good friend John Monroe and I started in the industry back in the 80s, we used to have, the marketing used to The marketing used to be a paper cube, with the Ocean Carrier logo on it, or a coffee mug, right? And or a slick advertisement on the back of something called the Pacific Shipper. You guys won't remember that, but it was a magazine, believe it or not, that had the vessel schedules in the magazine. Yeah, that's right. Vessel schedules were actually printed on paper at one point. But the Pacific Shipper was about this thick, and it would have page 84, beautiful, color ad for Evergreen. The back of the page, beautiful Maersk, logo. And that's how these publications made the money, obviously advertisement. But marketing in ocean shipping, I don't know. I think you have to be your own marketer, just like me, Steve Ferreira, in this photo that you see of me. This was actually a photo that we did in one of my branding shots as we transition and grow the Ocean Audit and the Ocean Freight TV brand. You have to be your own marketing. You have to be your own kind of force of one. And I remember, when we were chasing the ocean freight back in the 80s, there used to be this thing called the ISIS Exodus Bulletin. I believe it was published by the Journal of Commerce. It was an import-export bulletin. And it was a tabloid, paper tabloid, kind of shaped like you would, I don't know if you guys remember the old Barron's, when Barron's they may be still published in newsstands, right? But Barron's would have kind of a tabloid format, and this import-export bulletin would be an a tabloid format. And you go in and, page 18, Port of Oakland, one case of, plastic party favors, ABC Trading, San Mateo, California. And that's how you found leads. It was published. The Ocean Manifest was published, and the JOC, overlaid the Customs Manifest and made a newspaper out of it. So, we'd be combing through this, and, it'd be one of these things at the quarterly business review. It'd be like, we had this guy at US Lines, great guy, Mark Taylor. Mark, shout out. I hope you're out there doing well somewhere. Mark would take this newspaper. Literally, it was a newspaper, right? And he'd quiz us. And the big cheeses would be in the room, senior VPs, and okay, Steve Ferreira. Who's the competitors that use which company does the importer exporter Shaklee, which is the kind of the food and I guess they call it multi-level marketing company like Shaklee. Anyway, what is which ocean vendors does Shaklee use? And I'd be like APL 32%, Hapag-Lloyd 16%. And I would memorize this thing by heart. And that's that was the Bible. It's like okay, you did two things in ocean freight back in the day, right? You had the import-export bulletin, and you had your Thomas Guide, which was a paper collection of maps. It was a book. You want to go to Atari. There's a name from the past. And 16 View Lane in Sunnyvale, California. Had to look it on a map, right? And you drive in the car. It's like, okay, you got the coffee, you got the map. And so that, to me, was all kind of part of the marketing and your own personal brand. So when you get to Atari and you get to Shaklee, okay, what do you do? And we'll get onto that later on in the presentation. But I think today, it's just incredible, what kind of opportunities or information's out there that helps you to be your own marketer, your own brand, your own salesperson. For example, Google can tell you if you, and I say with peace and love to, all my friends at S&P Global Market Intelligence. They have a information services division, Panjiva. You guys have probably all heard of it. It's simple, right? You can go into Google and just say, for example, I'm just making this up with Shaklee. I think they still exist, so you could try that. But Google Boolean query, right? Shaklee and Panjiva and 2023. There's a good chance you're going to bring up, some of the Shaklee records and who they're using as a competitor, maybe some market intel. But it's all out there for free. Now, of course, it's not anywhere near as good as having a subscription to, market intelligence systems and programs. But hey, you want to plan your Sunday and find leads in your territory? You can even say, I guess you could do this. Like my old zip code where I grew up. And when I lived in Dallas, my zip code was 75243. I bet you could even do something like, Panjiva and 75243 or 75241, where you search for clients by zip code, right? So there's tools out there, and a lot of this is free. It's the same way you find emails, right? Go into Panjiva and say, Shaklee. Let's say the domain is shaklee.com, right? So you just say, or you can say like file type PDF or XLS or DOC and shaklee.com, and there's a good chance you're going to bring up, the precise email convention for Shaklee or whoever you're looking up. It's a particularly interesting tip and trick, and I actually did a presentation on this for the incredible New York Public Library's Entrepreneur Series last year. It was a fantastic way to shortcut the process. But I think that go way back with another great friend that's currently at CEVA, Eric Brandt. Eric, hi, if you're out there listening. We used to have a lot of fun back in the day where we were working for a container carrier, and we go to an industrial park, and we did container hunting, right? It was a lot of fun, right? You go into an industrial park, and what rep or area doesn't have an industrial park, right? We all know where they are. As a matter of fact, here in Miami, Doral is a kind of a suburb, right? But it's an incredible area. It's almost like its own world of shipping. You can drive into Doral, and you see a TRLU container at a warehouse. It's cloaked in secrecy, right? Gee, I wonder who that is. So we'd go in, and we just say, okay, your turn to go in. And we'd go in, and we'd say, well, we're so and so from so and so, and what kind of company is this? And it was amazing. I think we ended up picking up a 12 container a month client doing container hunting. So kind of like diamond mining, right? And the same thing holds true with World Trade Centers. Which town or city doesn't have a World Trade Center? I remember when I lived in Dallas, we had 8, 9, 10 floors of the Dallas Trade Mart. It was like a World Trade Center, de facto Trade Mart, right? And I mean, it's showrooms of importers, or mainly importers from Asia. And, half of them would be closed because, they're only during business hours. But, the other half, you go in and, be a great Japanese gentleman or a great Chinese lady sitting there. And, we developed some incredible, LTL, LCL, high revenue opportunities when you take the time to go into the World Trade Center. Matter of fact, have a little one-page PDF made up. Hey, I'm Steve Ferreira, I represent, so-and-so. You walk in and, give them 30 seconds, 10 seconds, don't want to take their time. But hey, if you ever need a need, I'm here, right? And it's the same scenario, although the Hyatt Hotel wouldn't like me saying this. But I remember I've been to TPM so many times. Shout out again to everyone over at JOC and S&P Global Market Intelligence. Love those guys and gals. But think about it, right? I was actually at the Hilton during the last TPM. But think about in the Hyatt, right? I don't know, was there 1,000 people at TPM? There was like 5,000 people, but let's say 2,000 were staying at the Hyatt. What if you, the week before, printed up a professional one-pager? Let's say I'm a consultant. Well, I'm an ocean auditor, right? So what if I said, I'm Steve Ferreira, my brand is Ocean Auditing, and I put it under every door in the middle of the night? I mean, it's probably not kosher, right? It's you're not supposed to trespass. But what if you had a room there, right? And then you went to every single door, and you put a little flyer under the door, right? It's annoying. I get it, right? I'm not trying to say that that's right or wrong. But you mean to tell me if there's not that kind of traction that 2 or 3 people might follow up on it? I don't know, but I mean it's kind of guerrilla marketing, and I think it's just something that kind of is tagged along with the whole idea of sales, marketing, and the next section to talk about showmanship, right? And other than me looking cool in my purple socks, I think showmanship is about some of the initiatives that you can take as professional men and women salespeople to please the importer or the exporter. Shaklee was a great story for me. I fell in love with the folks there, and I had a real affinity for all my clients. 40 years ago, and I still do. Everyone knows that. But Shaklee was unique because they were using a competitor, and at the time, Sealand had in kind of an internal CAD drawing program, I guess is a lack of a better word, but it was like a stowage program, right, where you could actually take the dimensions of their drums or barrels, and you could do a load configuration. I mean, I'm sure that now AI can do that for you, and you can say, hey, my drum is these dimensions. How do I arrange it to get the best yield? And so Shaklee had never done this, right, and I did it for them, and I wouldn't have too much of a sophisticated program, so I had to end up kind of drawing some of my outputs. But I remember the idea I had was that you had the drums, and then you had the drum laying on its side, right, where you had a visualization where the drum was horizontal, and it was banded and bundled together so it wouldn't shift. And Shaklee really liked the idea, and they actually took it to their engineering and product team. And I don't think it ended up flying as a go because of the way the product might shift or something. I don't know what it was, but that wasn't the point, was it? The point was that I came to them with an original idea. I took it all the way to the max, and I put the pedal to the metal. I wanted to show some differentiation. And I think I picked that up, from my dad. My dad was a janitor. He was a bartender. He was a curtain salesman. And I remember, when my dad sold curtains, he was like an incredible curtain salesman. He was kind of like a blue-collar macho guy. But, when you got him into the curtain world, it's like, I don't know. It's like there was this blonde lady once when I remember when I was 12, 13 years old. I watched my dad. And I mean, he practically sold the whole store to this one lady. And she said, I'll only buy it if you come over and help me, install it, right? And it's like, this is back in the day. And, so it was all, it was legitimate, nothing weird about it. They just loved my dad. The customers did. And he was able to, take his persona and shape it into, okay, I'm a bartender, so I'm going to listen to you. I'm a curtain salesman, so okay, well, what are your walls like, and what's the texture? Oh, this texture will go great, right? So my dad had a way to take like feel and touch and taste and texture, right, and translate it into words. And I think that's important in part of showmanship. And I think that one of the things I found, and I think you guys find as salespeople and marketing people and even importers and exporters, is that email is great, right? But we all know email has limitations. And my UPS story is that I found a company, and this is a great company. I wish I could give them a plug, but the exact name is escaping me now. I haven't used them in a while. But they make personalized note cards where the pen actually writes and looks just like the human hand. And it's great because you can write messages at scale, right? And actually do drop-ins and fill in, the company name and hey, I'm not giving away secrets, but it's a very nice approach. And, what you do is, you take your best 10 clients or best 10 prospects that you'd like to reach out to, and anyone could do this, right? And you FedEx it to them, right? You get the note card, you FedEx it to them. It bypasses their administrative assistant, or of course, who has those these days? But you know what I'm saying. A lot of executives still have great support staffs, as they should. And if you want to get something to the executive, to CFO or CEO or president, oftentimes, the FedEx or UPS envelope is always a great primer, right, to get that message delivered. So I think it's a little bit on steroids, right, in terms of how you can up your game, going forward. And of course, it takes a lot of talent to pull that off. And when I think of talent, right, I think about, okay, I'm pretty unique because I have my own company here at Ocean Audit. I have Ocean Freight TV, but my main revenue brand is Ocean Audit. But Ocean Audit is really me, right? It's not Ocean Audit. It's Ocean Audit by Steve Ferreira or Steve Ferreira's Ocean Audit. And it's sort of like, and total devotion to this guy, Eric Johnson, right, at JOC, S&P Global Market Intelligence. I love Eric. I love Ari, Peter Tershwell. I love everyone over there, right? But the thing about Eric and what Ari has done as well is, so they have their own kind of voice, Substack, right? They work for JOC, S&P, but they're also thought leaders in their own mind, and they are able to develop and write on their own platform. I think that's one of the slippery slopes in the world right now with getting your voice across, is that being employed with an employer, obviously, I know one world-class logistics company that just to say a word, you need to clear it with, 2 or 3 different people in PR, right? So it's challenging to get your right message across, especially when you're a incredible talent. So the Substack issue is a great modality for approaching your own voice, with the caveats that, the opinions are your own, and of course, blah, blah, blah. And people that do that really well, but have that independence, like me, in some ways, of course, I have mentioned my friend Sarah Barnes-Humphrey and my friend Blythe Brumlevy, great voices, not only in general logistics, but, champions of women and inclusion of all race, creeds, religions, sex in the global logistics industries. Blythe and Sarah do a yeoman's job, right, in broaching and bringing broaching differences and bringing high quality information to the viewer. And what I think about that, and the reason why I wanted to talk about them for a second is, it's like right now, I'm totally focused on you, the audience, right, which means I'm totally focused on the camera, right? I have to give you my 100% attention, right? And this is not easy, right? This is not easy to do. And it's almost like, in a meeting, right? It's like, the eye contact's so important. But if you go, off to the side, it is challenging, right? And it's really tough to keep focused. So, I know they say, hey, you practice in front of the mirror, right, before you go on a pitch. And there's not too much bad about that, right? And I think that what Blythe and Sarah do really well is just have an incredibly naturally gifted style to showcase their raw and real talent that's beaming out to the interwebs. And I think that's an incredible talent on its own. And, when you think about, Blythe or Sarah or myself or, other luminaries like Lars Jensen, I think one way to approach it is, one of my favorite movies is The Martian with Matt Damon, right? And in it, they reference a couple times, he's a steely-eyed missile man, right? And steely-eyed means like, an expert. And when you think about steel, right, container shipping, you think about the hull of a ship, Corten steel on a container. Right? It's a hard industry, right? It's not soft and like, Ralph Lauren and Calvin Klein and, a beautiful soft pair of, lounge shoes, right? This is a hard industry, right? It's industrial, right? It's industrial. It's rough and rugged, right? And there's waterfronts and oil and there's all kind of like, diesel. And so it's a hard industry. But if you think about the hardness of it, it almost helps you play off the softness of your own personal approach. So it's a little bit of a polar opposite, right? Look at the guy on the screen, right? This kind of free, happy image of me, Steve Ferreira doing his thing. I'm not steely-eyed there, but I've been in the industry surrounded by this hard industrial genre, right? And I don't want to come across that way. I want to come across as like playful, campy, frivolous, intelligent, smart, outlier, our type expert. And I think that takes a lot. And no one better is doing that, right now, for example, in logistics and trucking, like my buddy and pal, Ian Wayland of JCT in Long Beach. Ian is, I said to Ian, hey, who's running your social marketing? Because, up to now I've been doing it all myself, and he does it all himself. He said, I do it all myself. It's of a brand where, we're brothers from another mother, right? I think, that playfulness, that softness, that fun, the fact that we're having fun after all these years, of course, Ian's a lot younger than I am, but he's having a lot of fun. And it's his whole family, right? They all jump in and support his endeavor, right? And we all have, hopefully, loved ones that do that. And when we have that, we can kind of be comfortable in our own skin. It takes a village to jump out of the skin. And for me, it was the pandemic that said, hey, if I'm going to be stuck in, I got to do something dynamic. And that's how I kind of converted to TV and media. But it took me a long time to practice it. And I know a lot of folks on LinkedIn say, hey, it's a 10, 12-month learning curve, to get up to snuff on where you want to have your voice be to achieve that trend in followers and friends and, steady inbound connections and inbound marketing. So, let's face it, when you have that kind of a showcase and following, it really minimizes the type of outbound marketing / selling that you have to do. But I think that with anything that, the type of chutzpah that comes into play here, it's definitely, walking the razor's edge when you are looking at differentiation. And I think nowhere more it doesn't walk the razor's edge, when let's say you're, I don't know, the first thing that came to my mind is, let's say you're a budding star or a somewhat of a great A player, right, at a steamship line or NVO or 3PL. And let's say you have foreign offices. Who doesn't have a foreign office in China or Europe? Hey, get over there. If the company's not going to send you over there, go over there on a summer vacation. Find 5 or 6 days to meet your counterparts. Learn about this whole issue of there's a lost strategy on push-pull, right? Communications. Because, if you're working in sales in the ocean industry, you talk to the consignee, you talk to the shipper, right? There's two different people talking there, and you've got to find a way to balance that out, and that's a lost skill. So being overseas is a kind of a real bold move, right? And, okay, there's a good chance that the company's not going to pay it. They may say, hey, I want to go on a fact-finding trip. We have these 10 clients that I'd like to meet the shipper on the shipper end or the receiver. So I think that's an important issue to get overseas. I think you have to kind of price and triage this stuff like you're an ER doctor, right? So you think of the ER and, they do these life-saving measures. I mean, my role model at Sealand was a guy named John Clancy, and John had tapped me to develop a service between Taiwan and the Middle East. And he just said, look, get the cargo on the ship. The rates will take care of itself. So you have to kind of find a way to triage the situation until you can get to that rate stability. And of course, this market may be the right time to do that because you may not be giving much up on the downside to triage that and then build up, the rapport and the rate levels as you see fit. Of course, I'm really talking about the whole process. But at the same time, as we know, rapid changes in rate and environment create incredible opportunities for BCOs to get refunds and do what I do, which is ocean freight post-audit or global post-audit to recover overcharges. So environments and pricing where price mechanisms kind of whipsaw also can create, great opportunity for the BCO on refunding, but also for the provider, NVO or 3PL or VOCC, to learn how to invoice properly once they have learned the sins of their ways on overcharges. I think that, when I was at Sealand, we had this company, a customer who was part of the Defense Contracting Agency. And they came to me once, true story. They said, we have a black box we want to send to South Korea. And I looked at it. And you know what it looked like? It looked like it was a spy shot of a General Motors car in camouflage. Like they didn't really want to tell me what was in it. And I didn't really want to ask. So they said, we need a price immediately. We need to go to DC. You can price it right. You got it. You got the bid. And so I knew it was out of gauge, which meant that it needed, special equipment. We call it, flat racks or platforms or open tops, whatever it was that we needed at the time. And so, I said, I'm going to be a hero for this, or I'm going to be a goat, because I was a salesperson. I wasn't an operation person. I've learned a lot of operational stuff since then. But the point I'm trying to make is that I just said it'll be $65,200, right? Don't ask me where the 200 came from. And they said, wow, oh, you must have accounted for the chains and the bundling and the dechaining of the mechanism. I said, yeah, yeah. Oh, and I need to include 2,500 to return the chains to us. So it's like 62 wasn't enough, and I added some more onto it. They said, done, done. You got to excuse me. And I can only imagine, right, that APL had quoted 100,000, and I don't know, I was 30,000 off, but the revenue was good, and it was a home run. I got a letter of commendation from, I think, with the Republic of South Korea on helping their defense program. And I remember getting a letter from John Clancy at Sealand saying, what a niche I found in terms of working with defense contracting. So there you go again on defense and niche strategies. And last but not least, I think what I learned as part of Chutzpah, right, is that post-pandemic comms communication styles are nothing like the early days. Yeah, of course, I would bring a coffee to a client in the parking lot. I couldn't reach by phone. Yeah, I'd call, I'd leave a voicemail at night. But that's in the 80s, right, man? And today it's different. Today you need visual video, embedded video that doesn't necessarily, jeopardize the clients where you're getting delivered in your inbox and not as spam. So it takes a lot. I remember last night I had to do 10 to 12 things just to move the dial a little bit with media and programming and, laying out the next steps for the branding. And it was a couple hours down the drain, but all in a positive way. So I think that's really part of Chutzpah. And I think Chutzpah also is to love Route 66. I think as we near the end of our show today, you've been watching Steve Ferreira, CEO of Ocean Audit and Ocean Freight TV. I've said for years that nothing better is Route 66 or some obscure routes from a little further north going, east to west or west to east. I'm talking about the Nebraskas, the Oklahomas, the New Mexicos, the Amarillo, Texas locations. It's fertile ground because, nobody goes there, right? It's all done telephonically or by video. Importers that are in these regions, maybe stick more to incumbents, right? Because the guy or gal salesperson visits once a year or twice a year, or, they get the chance to enjoy a lunch together. So it's a lot like incumbents in an election. It's really hard to displace an incumbent. But not so much in Route 66 or some of the hinterlands like Omaha, Nebraska, or Cheyenne, Wyoming, or Albuquerque, New Mexico. You put focus on these attention areas, and remember these are high margin areas for the most part, where you've got interior point intermodal shipments, resulting in more yield and more profitability overall in terms of how the invoicing works out. So I think it's one of these issues where the BCOs are kind of like in the same type environment where, they've worked, I'm just making this up, with UPS for years or DHL for years. And that's what they know, right? And all of a sudden, the new person comes in and they assume the DHL connection. But they don't know you from company XYZ. They don't know the personal you. And you know that because these people are active on LinkedIn. They're sharing their social profile. When they're starting new roles. Send them a hearty, sincere congrats. Send them a message. Send them a newsletter. Hey, this is my newsletter for new clients in the Midwest. Wow, what a great idea, right? I just thought about that on the fly. But here, is where really relationships matter at the end of the day. And it doesn't take long to build them, but it does take a quick downfall can destroy them. And that's not staying in touch. It's not, following up. And it's not giving them the differentiation. For example, when I lived in Dallas, it was like Harvard Yard meets the rodeo, right? I'd say, hey, we're all I'd be in Dallas and I'd slip and I'd say, y'all park the car. And it's like, what the heck? Where are you from, boy? And it's like these rodeo loving, cowboy boot wearing, beautiful people with tall 16-gallon hats, took me under their wing, and I'm at rodeo, and I'm like, eating barbecue, and it's like, oh my God, my whole world's opened up because of Dallas, because of Taiwan, because of living in Paris or in Prague. And so I think these are all areas that we need to look within as we start to do our own development to become better salespeople, marketing people, and learn the right ways to cross-communicate with our beautiful BCO clients and friends. Because remember, the voice of reason of where a lot of BCOs are getting messaging from is you, the salesperson, the person on the street, the person on the phone. Now, of course, great BCOs. I can think of Mary McNally at Crocs, for example. Mary is on the board of NYSHEX, and Mary networks like heck, and she's a luminary and visionary in her own right. And so she gets it, right, in terms of how using her style and branding, it makes her a better logistician and executive. And I think that's really important as you start to develop that, because you can't just hear the information from the fox if you're in that henhouse environment. You need to open up those doors and let yourself fly, baby, fly. And whether that takes you to Taipei or Hong Kong or Johannesburg or Sydney or Auckland, it doesn't matter, just as long as you do that. And I think that really helps the whole idea for Ocean to sail. And I don't mean sail, but sail the ocean, right? SALE, because nothing starts in life without a sail. My business at Ocean Audit doesn't start containers on a ship. The manufacturing of a steel container or a steel-hulled ship doesn't start until something is sold. And that is the moral of the story today. And I want to thank you all for spending time with me on our comeback here from the long weekend, and welcome to the start next week of a new week as we head into July and the rest of June. Expect more exciting and new content from Ocean Freight TV, excuse me. And expect the rebranding soon to be announced on Ocean Audit. Incredible new themes and colors and personas and automation, all designed to help achieve the maximum refund for you in 5 to 10 business days of 6 figures or more. And anyone that wants to jump on and get those 6-figure refunds from their global logistics vendors starting, I'll probably lose all the friends that I just talked about in sales at the Ocean vendors when they start getting refund claims from Ocean Audit, but it is what it is. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I'm Steve Ferreira, Ocean Audit and Ocean Freight TV, signing off for the weekend. We'll talk to you on next Friday, same time, and until then, have a great weekend and enjoy your time with family. Cheers.